Hey everybody, and welcome back to Inside Gaming Daily for Friday.
It's Friday! Yeah! Woo!
Yes! Yes!
Yeah, guys, the next console generation is right around the corner.
Oh,
really can't come soon enough because we're dying out here. I'm dying here, huh? So we can't just dunk on Stadia forever. Well, we could, but you know, we like to mix it up for you guys. So
We need to diversify our portfolio.
yeah, so Sony is apparently having big problems with the PS5.
Big.
They haven't even announced it yet.
It involves something pretty important, price. Of course, we at Inside Gaming are incredibly rich off our abundant views and bountiful ads. So this does not concern us, but it may concern you unwashed masses. Sony has had issues with pricing its consoles too high in the past and turning off some consumers, and it looks like they're having issues keeping down manufacturing costs for their newest console.
Yeah, I knew they shouldn't have included a Tesla with the PS5.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Elon, but you gotta admit that those Cybertruck shoes are unbelievably— I can't do this. I can't do this. They look so stupid. And
They're the
joke,
dumbest
but-
things I've ever seen.
awesome.
They're so dumb.
Just read the joke, there's a dunk in the joke.
Okay, I'm sorry. Those Cybertruck shoes are unbelievably cool. Too bad we can't Photoshop that dude's personality. And that's the joke in the script? Cool. Where are we hearing this from, Brian?
So this comes from Bloomberg reporter Takashi Machizuki, who writes that it's currently costing Sony around $450 a unit to make the PS5. Really missed opportunity to pop a cool 420 in there. Shout out Elon Musk, but I digress.
Which is a lot more than it costs to make the PS4, and it could compromise Sony's ability to compete with Microsoft in the next generation. Something people point to over and over as to why the Xbox One's launch was so terrible was its $500 launch price. There are a lot of reasons, but you know, that's part of it. Historically, people just have not been willing to hand over that much cash for a console. Not to mention the PS3's price fiasco, which we will get into later, so this is a sore spot with gamers, to be sure.
Well, let's put that $450 in perspective. It's estimated that the PS4 cost $381 to make and it initially retailed for $399. So if you apply that same math to the PS5, that would mean it would cost about $470 at retail?
Yeah, it's gonna be the PS3 all over again. Good thing we are rich.
I like to put my feet up on the help while I play Little Big Planet.
Rooster Teeth billionaires.
Ad revenue is lining my pockets.
We're so poor we can't even pretend to be rich convincingly.
Stop telling the truth, Brian. Damn your journalistic integrity.
Yeah, to put it a little bit more in context, you can currently buy a PS4 Pro right now for $329 on Amazon. At least in the US, that's probably still $1 million in Australia. But a launch console that's close to $500, that might scare off some potential buyers, considering that all of the former generation is being price cut dramatically. They have better libraries. And if Sony's ringing the alarm bell about these costs, that probably means they want to get the PS5's cost a lot closer to $400 than $500.
You're trying to rally the PlayStation fans. Like, come on, guys. Why don't you help us out?
Of course, the PS5 will be a lot more powerful than a PS4 Pro, but launch consoles don't have very big libraries, so it could struggle at first. People could decide to hang on to their old machines, and the PS5 could be a slow seller.
Sony executives are definitely aware of this, and it sounds like they're getting a little nervous on the eve of the next console generation. We can almost hear those sweat drops. Head behind.
Yeah, they've got good reason to be anxious though, right, Brian?
Yeah, because as we all know, they've gone through this before. When the PS3 was announced, I think the most expensive version cost $600. That sent shockwaves throughout the industry. It is still a meme. It was this legendary screw up on Sony's part.
That's so much money.
Yeah.
That is way too much money. And this was back in 2006 when movies used to cost a nickel and email was free. Even now, the idea of spending $600 on a console is just not appealing. At that point, why wouldn't you just shell out a little more and build a good PC? Pretty good.
These days, you can get a VR-ready PC for about $700.
Or 7D if you know my guys.
Ooh, who are they?
That's called stealing.
The cost turned off a lot of people, and it led to an impression that Sony had gotten arrogant after the success of the first two PlayStations.
The cold shower of video game consoles.
It changes, man. That $600 cost was one factor that caused the PS3 to stumble out of the gate, and while it went on to sell decently, it was far from the success of Sony's other consoles. It didn't truly start to recover until the Slim model was released, which, surprise, was only $300 at launch.
Hooray.
Oh yeah, and it's sold. So yeah, slicing the cost in half is gonna get people to open their wallets.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem to matter how good the console actually is. If you hit a price point people don't want to pay, they will not pay.
Right. It was competing with the cheaper Xbox 360 at the time, and that's definitely what Sony is worried about this time too, because the Xbox Series X is going to launch later this year as well.
It's almost here, it's almost here. We don't even know if it's called that. It's just called
Put a
Xbox,
lid on it, okay?
right?
Relax.
Never temper my enthusiasm because it is what keeps this show alive. If one console is priced significantly higher than the other, that's probably gonna sway some people's decisions. Plus, we have to imagine Xbox has learned their lesson from trying to sell us some overpriced Kinect bundled junk at this gen's start. Sony was pretty damn smug about that too, so they definitely don't want that egg on their face. Here's how you trade a game on PS4. Yay, we're all corporations and you're gonna just give us money.
Yeah.
Yo, Sony got their ass.
Yeah, the clock is ticking because Sony usually finalizes the price of a new console in February of its release year. Ooh, that's right now.
That's recurring.
It's Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day also.
No, don't touch me. Don't touch me. I can feel you touching me.
No!
All right, sorry. Back on track. That is right now, February, so mass production should be kicking off in just a few months, probably in the spring. Gonna be a mad scramble over at Foxconn.
It also sounds like there's an internal fight over at Sony, whether to sell the PS5 at a loss, if it comes to that, or to make a small little profit, which is usually the case.
Yeah.
Brian, what's going on with that?
Yeah, so most consoles are sold at a pretty small profit margin, but then the idea is you make most of your money off games and these days subscription services, which admittedly Sony is falling behind on, especially compared to Game Pass over on Xbox. That's probably the best subscription service on the market right now. But yeah, the idea is you don't make a lot of money off hardware, at least at first. They kind of drive those costs down as the generation goes on. But then, yeah, the classic model is sell them games, sell them subscriptions, sell them what the hell ever else.
Oh, and overly monetizing fully priced AAA games because these days the video game industry is just a giant satanic slot machine.
Damn, Satan would be fun as hell to gamble with.
Because I'm already going to hell.
That can be arranged.
Back to Sony, Patrick.
Yes, at an earnings briefing this month, Sony's chief financial officer, Hiroki Totoki, sounded the alarm about the manufacturing costs, saying, we must keep PlayStation 5's bill of materials under our control, and we need to make the correct number of units in the initial production.
All right, so let's get into the hardware itself. What's causing the costs to be so high? Well, for one, the cooling system is reportedly a few dollars per unit, which is more expensive than usual, but Bloomberg said that Sony went with a more expensive option to make sure that overheating isn't an issue.
But the biggest problem is the supply of flash memory. Yeah, both DRAM and NAND flash memory are in high demand because smartphone companies are making their next-gen devices too.
That includes Samsung, which just recently announced its Galaxy S20 phones. Each of those will have a minimum of 12 gigs of RAM.
What?
Holy God.
Sorry, that's just insane. I remember my first PC had like 0 RAM. I don't know, like 1K.
That's a lot of RAM. Finally, I can play 36 TikToks all at once when I'm having a depressive episode. There's also the issues of the coronavirus affecting console production. Production.
Some analysts have predicted that the outbreak could delay the release of both the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X later this year.
What?
Some big factories like Foxconn in China have closed temporarily during the outbreak, and if it lasts for a prolonged period of time, that could obviously affect the production of new consoles. They're saying, though, that it looks like we're in the preparation stage and that the actual production isn't going to start during the spring, so we're not there yet to where it would affect production, but we're getting kind of close.
Yeah, obviously Sony is worried that the Xbox Series X will come out priced significantly lower than the PS5, which is a situation that happened back with the PS3 and the Xbox 360.
You'd think that Microsoft would have the exact same issue with lower supplies of flash memory, and maybe that will force them to price the Xbox Series X higher as well? I don't know.
Yes, but Microsoft is a much, much bigger company than Sony, so maybe it could afford to sell consoles at a loss, at least at first, while Sony couldn't.
And that's just speculation, but it's a fact that Microsoft has much deeper pockets. They've been sinking tens of billions of dollars into their cloud computing platform. That's a lot of money.
Just firing cannons skyward.
That's more than all of Inside Gaming combined makes in a year.
And that's saying quite a bit.
So taking a little hit on console sales probably wouldn't faze them. Plus, like we said earlier, Game Pass rules, and I'm sure that that's bringing in a fair chunk of reliable money. They're just operating in a very different mindset right now. They're very future forward, so it's unclear how much this will affect them. Sony's thinking about the next 5 years. Microsoft Microsoft's thinking about the next 10,000 years.
Microsoft out here living in 3020.
Probably giving Sony some minor heebies and jeebies, just little ones though. Don't worry, Phil Spencer can't hurt you. He's just too beautiful.
He's beautiful.
He's too pure.
I would just like to add that Sony is probably more 2000 and late now than anything.
Thanks for getting that in there. Never go off script again, please.
Also, for the record, I don't write all these thirst comments about Phil.
All right.
We know who's writing those.
Microsoft isn't expected to announce the price of the Xbox Series X until E3 in June, according to Bloomberg, and that will be a big factor in what the PS5's final price will be. And really cutting it close there, and I thought I was a procrastinator.
So ready to leave. So as for Sony, sources say its top leadership is urging patience about how much the PS5 will cost. And they say the transition to the next generation will be a gradual one.
Saying like lots of games are going to be released on both consoles. So some people typically hold off on buying a new console until it gets a nice library of games. I think they're saying that the PS4's got a few more years of life left in it.
I mean, they still release PS3 games in Japan.
They sold PS2 games up until what, 16?
They were putting Just Dance out on the Wii until very recently.
Anyway, it's looking like the PS5 could be a lot pricier than we or Sony expected.
I was poor as a kid, so we used to put the Just Dance like videos up on YouTube and dance to those.
Oh no. Gamers, you need a little bit of love too, just
Yeah.
like Brian, so we hope you have a lovely Valentine's Day.
Yeah, go out there and clap cheeks.
Yeah, with your SO Mario. Brian, get over here!
Oh no. I don't like affection. No, this is wrong. I don't give consent.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Inside Gaming Daily for Friday. We have kind of a bummer of a story today.
Yeah, we're still gonna scream, yes! So into your ears and bring some positive energy into this terrifying world.
All right everybody, on this bright, lovely Friday, let's talk about